On January 5th, 2020, the latest cycle of Daf Yomi began. For those of you who are not immersed in the study of Talmud, Daf Yomi means a page a day. The Babylonian Talmud has 63 tractates. It contains a total of 2,711 double-sided pages. In 1920, a rabbi in Poland, Rabbi Moshe Menachem Mendel Spivak, proposed a system whereas people could study a daf a day, and it would encourage Talmud study. As a teacher, he understood that sometimes, though Talmud scholars can spend an entire lifetime on just a few dapim, sometimes some students need to feel they're making progress in order to be motivated to continue. And so he created the Daf Yomi system, and each cycle is coincidentally called a machzor, just like the machzorim that we have from which to pray. It's also the word for recycling. It means we come and we repeat and we repeat and we return and we return. The Daf Yomi program allows you to complete the entire Talmud in 7.5 years, just by reading one daf a day. We are now in the 14th machzor of the Daf Yomi cycle. 2019, the last year of the 13th machzor, was a difficult year for my family and me. My mother was suffering from pancreatic cancer. My brother and I were both waiting for surgery. Our oldest, Jesse, ended up in the hospital with extreme anemia that appeared one day and then eventually disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared. During that 13th Daf Yomi cycle, more and more people were learning with new technology at their fingertips, and they were using social media to share what they were learning and how they were learning. And as 2019 grew to an end, there were articles, videos, and memes about Daf Yomi learning. After such a topsy-turvy year, I thought, you know what? I've never wanted to do this before, but maybe this is the time. Maybe having something that I do every day at the same time will bring me back in sync after the year we had. Today's page of Talmud is Zvachim 18. It's the first tractate of the Order of Kedoshim. It deals with animal sacrifices, and I am now 3 years behind in my Daf Yomi study. It started out so well. I set a time every day. I found a Daf Yomi podcast I could listen to while I learned that would help me focus and give me insight. But we're all familiar with the phrase, if not in the Yiddish, der Mensch tracht und Gott lacht. A person plans and God laughs. And on January 21st, 2020, my mother passed away. One of the things you avoid during Shiva is learning for learning's sake. About a month later, we all know what happened. The entire world shut down. I no longer had a commute on which I could learn. Schedules were upside down. We had to bring Jesse home from University in Halifax and Gavi home from U of T. Karen and the boys switched to online learning. I was certainly not prepared to suddenly be working from home, and that took its toll. Life was just different. So I'm 3 years behind. And I could look at this as a tremendous setback. I could give up. For a little while, I said, oh, if I just do 9 daf a week, not even a daf a day, just catch up. Eventually, I'll catch up. But that's not going to happen. So instead, I decided to simply enjoy the study when I had time. I'm now studying my 16th tractate of Talmud. While at JTS, 6 years of rabbinical school, albeit study in depth, I only even briefly was exposed to pieces of 4 tractates. So 16 is not so bad. This is our season of the Yamim Noraim, the days of awe, the beginning of a new year, and everything in front of us is new and open to us. Given the difficulties of the last 2 years, it would be easy to turn in on ourselves, to say it's too much, we're never going to catch up, how can we possibly move forward? But we do because that's what we've always done. We go through our year, we start anew. Just a few months ago, we celebrated the holiday of Shavuot. Shavuot is a holiday that I believe has many contradictions. As the day on which we celebrate the giving of Torah, it should be the highlight of the Shalosh Regalim, the cycle of Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. It takes almost no preparation. There's no changing of dishes. There's no Seder. There's no building projects in our yards. It's short. It's 2 days. The weather is almost always beautiful. All you need to do is go to the store and buy a cheesecake. It's a holiday for eating ice cream. It's a holiday for Tikkunei Leil Shavuot, all-night study sessions, which encourage children to stay up past their bedtimes, encourage teenagers to stay out all night with their friends. And yet, instead of being the most beloved of holidays, even for me, instead of looking at the day on which we accepted our brit, our covenant with God, it's a bit of a forgotten holiday. I think its timing in our modern world affects it. The school year is winding down. If kids go to afternoon school, they may be done already for the year. Sometimes it coincides with the May 2-4 weekend and we have other plans. We're thinking about summer vacation, working in our yards. We're focused on things we didn't get done during the long winter. The Jewish community attempts to put everything that we wanted to program from November through Pesach. We attempt to put from Pesach to Shavuot. By the time Shavuot comes, we're a little done. Without the necessity of changing the dishes, without the necessity of building sukkah, we don't have to plan weeks in advance and suddenly it's upon us and we forget it. There are other contradictions. Those who come regularly on Shabbat will have heard me talk about this before, but we have 2 midrashim about Shavuot. One is that God first went to all of the other people in the world and said, will you take my Torah? And they asked, what's in it? And when God started to tell them, they said, not for us. We're good. And over this happened. And then when God came to the Israelites, he said, will you take my Torah? And they said, Na'aseh v'nishma. We'll do it. We'll do all of it. And as we're doing it, we'll come to understand it. But there's a darker midrash. It says that after the Israelites complained all the way to Har Sinai, they also rejected the Torah when first offered. They were camping, as the Torah says, tachat hahar, which probably means at the base of the mountain, but literally means under the mountain. And so God lifted up Mount Sinai and threatened to drop it on their heads. He was done. So how do these two things exist simultaneously? We both accepted Torah wholeheartedly and immediately, while simultaneously rejecting it. And they exist because truth can be subjective. There is only ever one set of facts. You may choose your facts to lead people in a certain way, but there is only one set of facts. Truth, however, is experienced. It is subjective. And Midrash is not history. Midrash is not a set of facts. We will never know if Abraham smashed his father's idols, or if Pharaoh actually put bowls of glowing coals and gems in front of baby Moshe to see which he would reach for and find out if he was the one prophesied to lead the Israelites to freedom. But these midrashim are true for us. They're true because they tell us about our ancestry, they tell us about our history and how we related to it. They lead us on the path of being the Jewish people and fulfilling God's mission for us in the world. It's been a hard year. It's been a hard 2 years. And COVID was right before that. Throughout this whole period, so many of us have felt sadness, frustration, but also hope and gratitude. We felt loneliness and compassion, depression, anxiety, and more. We have stepped up and spoken out, and we have retreated inward. We've said na'aseh v'nishma, and also, we're done. The fact that these 2 years followed a plague that engulfed the entire world makes it just that much worse. Since 2020, we have at times literally stepped into the sun and been forced back into the shadows of our homes. First, because of COVID, and then because of fear of what we might encounter out on the streets. COVID left us eagerly waiting to embrace others, while at the same time scared to move forward. And the war in Israel and rising anti-Semitism has left us abandoned and unsure whom to trust. But there are positive moments, there are positive lessons. During COVID, some families created multi-generational homes, grandparents, parents, children. After that year of 2019, I can't even repeat what Rav Jen called it and still refers to it now. I had all 3 of my children home, and while a plague was outside our doors, inside our house was very healing. The quiet from people not commuting showed us that the environmental damage in our world can be reversed. New bonds and relationships were formed through Zoom and Google and Teams, and over the last 2 years, more and more allies have spoken up, spoken out. Individuals who were curious about Judaism took steps to learn more or convert. Our community got more involved in school boards, in political volunteering, supporting friendly candidates, doing more than simply making financial donations. We even got better at saying thank you. We're all very quick to complain when something happens that we don't like. But these 2 years, more and more people have reached out to those they wanted to say thank you. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being there. Thank you for being a friend. These moments seem to contradict the absolutely understandable anger, fear, and frustration. It's difficult to embrace a positive when we're doom scrolling, when headlines scream at us, when our daily anxiety continues to rise. And so we're changed. Individuals, families, friends, communities, cultures, countries, we are all changed. Whether it's the worldwide polarization or the heightened knowledge of the importance of human contact, from the youngest human beings to the oldest, post-COVID and post-October 7th, the generations alive now will never be like we were before. But we're survivors. We stood under that mountain and we yelled, Na'aseh v'nishma, we accept this now and we will do all we can to understand. We will embody these contradictions as they inhabit us. We will accept the words we recited on Rosh Hashanah, the words we will say tomorrow in Musaf, Mi yichya u'mi yamut, who will live and who will die. Who will live by fire, by water, by sword or beast? Who may die by hunger or thirst, by earthquake or plague? The Unetana Tokef is not merely a list of bad things. It is a list of how we may also live. What can be negative can also be positive. We may live at peace, or we may be troubled, we may be serene or disturbed. Some will be brought low, and others will be there to raise them up. This year, I pray we all choose life, and in doing so, accept and embrace the contradictions of our world, accept that in a world that is tearing itself apart due to anti-Semitism, to racism, to other prejudices, that we can make it better. During COVID, people sang on their balconies to amuse their neighbors. Graduations, b'nai mitzvah, weddings, and even funerals were live streamed, were held outdoors. And we discovered that Zoom allows people to participate from around the world in ways that previously they simply could not. So even as COVID isolated us, we found ways to bring people together and make the world a smaller, more intimate place. Since October 7th, new grassroots organizations were founded to mobilize our community. People returned to synagogues in numbers higher than before COVID had even happened. Dr. Sherry Trotter and former cabinet minister from New Zealand, the Honorable Alfred Nagaro, founded the Indigenous Embassy of Jerusalem to support Israel and the indigeneity of the Jewish people in Israel. And Justice Harry Laforme, Canada's first Indigenous appellate court judge, speaking at Tel Aviv University's annual Democracy Forum, began his speech with a land acknowledgement, saying, "We are gathered here today in the homeland of the indigenous Jewish people." A phrase never heard, before 2020. As we move forward into 5786, let us ask, who will live in loneliness and who will respond to it? Who will despair at the state of the world and who will make an effort to make it a better place? Who will be brought low and who will be there to raise these people up? We can use our power for good instead of evil and influence the world in positive ways. We can raise people up, we can heal our environment, we can keep in touch with family and friends, reminding them of their great value in our lives. We can be present and positive for others, reaching out to our loved ones when we need someone to be present and positive for us. There has been a mountain hanging over our heads, but we are stepping up and stepping out of its shade. Now is the time we move forward. Nishma. We will understand in the future. Shana tova umetuka, tikatevu tikhamenu. May we all be written and sealed for a good and sweet year.